Buddy, these are my girls. These are my girls.
These are my girls. These are my girls. You find yourself replaying those words, trying to make sense of a nagging suspicion. At first you think, that can't be right, you're probably overreacting, imagining things. Then later the doubt creeps back. Maybe I wasn't paranoid after all. Maybe there really was something off in how people were behaving. Something unsettling is being said about Oprah Winfrey's girls' school in South Africa. Rumors claim students have
in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like.
Have vanished from the campus. Whispers that several pupils are missing, and people are searching for answers. Tension has risen around Oprah since Mel Gibson allegedly alerted the FBI about her supposed connections to covert rings in Hollywood. That claim landed her under scrutiny, and now, according to gossip, she's feeling the heat again. For years, critics have accused her of using influence to bury careers and of associating with dubious figures in the industry. Those accusations have haunted her reputation and keep resurfacing whenever new allegations appear. Every time controversy nears, she somehow
strange is going on with Oprah Winfrey's South African school for girls. It's spreading rumors that girls are disappearing from the school. According to these rumors, several students from the school have gone missing.
Seems to slip free before law enforcement closes in. But Mel Gibson isn't letting things slide now. He's made it his crusade to expose Hollywood figures who allegedly enabled predators like Epstein and Weinstein, and, unsurprisingly to some, Oprah has emerged as a primary target. Even before Gibson's accusations, there are claims an investigation into Oprah was already underway in 2020. The story goes back to March 2020, when reports surfaced that Harvey Weinstein
I'm always trying to look for the rainbow in the cloud, whatever is the silver lining. And this is what I do know for sure. When something this major happens, when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed moment. And what I do believe is actually happening is that, first of all, it's triggering a lot of unreleased pain, repressed anger, guilt, and suffering that a lot of women have had. Everybody has a story, and so I think this is a watershed moment. And if we make this just about Harvey Weinstein, then we will have lost it.
After making a plea deal, had named celebrities purportedly tied to a trafficking network linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Names allegedly included Oprah, Tom Hanks, and Charlie Sheen. Reports say federal agents searched Oprah's Boca Raton home and discovered alleged underground tunnels. Oprah quickly took to Twitter to deny the claims, writing that she'd just learned her name was trending and that the raid and arrest rumors were false. Her rapid response, intended to quash the story, only intensified suspicion for some observers. People asked why she would respond so fast.
Why am I hearing that Oprah had a school for girls and all of them went missing? Like, I had to research this. So basically what I found out is that Oprah had opened up a school in Africa, and they claims a while ago have been surfacing that it's been missing girls, coming from this school, but nothing has been confirmed. So recently these claims have been surfacing the surface again. Okay. Her school is called Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. Oprah has never publicly addressed this matter. She has never publicly said, oh no, this is not the case or anything. And she founded this school in 2007, okay? So this was several years ago. And this is not the only claim that had risen upon the school, okay? They had claims that it was sex scandals, okay, going down at this school. In 2011, law enforcement found a newborn body in the backpack of a student's bag. Basically, they confirmed that it was a 17-year-old girl. She had gave birth, and it was no charges filed against her. What?
Asked if she hadn't been trying to deflect attention. That curiosity pushed investigators and internet sleuths to re-examine her connections, and to argue her influence reaches far deeper than most assumed. Oprah's professional ties to Harvey Weinstein go back years. He's listed as an executive producer on the 2013 film Lee Daniels' The Butler, and she's insisted she didn't know about his abuses.
All these different religions until it comes to Christianity. And for whatever reason, that represents like white male, whatever it represents, colonialism, whatever it represents, it's negative.
Yeah, sure.
Framing their relationship as friendship. Industry insiders tell a different story. They say Weinstein used his connection with Oprah as cover. Actress Katie Noble alleges Weinstein paraded Oprah at his side to manipulate women into following him to hotel rooms. Critics claim Oprah knew, stayed silent, and watched the pattern continue until his eventual fall. Another public condemnation came from Rose McGowan, who posted a photo of Oprah kissing Weinstein at the 2014 Critics' Choice Awards with a scathing caption questioning Oprah's authenticity and calling out her ties to powerful abusers. Critics tie that behavior to a broader pattern, supporting or protecting influential men while dismissing or damaging those who accuse them. For many observers, that amounts to prioritizing access and power over victims' voices. I always try to find the silver lining. What I'm sure of is this. When a seismic event like Weinstein's exposure happens, when dozens of women step forward, it opens a floodgate. It releases long-buried pain, anger, and guilt that many survivors have carried. If the conversation stops at just naming Weinstein, we miss the larger opportunity to address the widespread harm and the systems that allowed it. Even Oprah's defenders couldn't fully shield her from questions. Critics say she tried to gaslight the women who came forward, and her name reportedly appears multiple times in documents tied to the Epstein case, suggesting her connections to controversial figures didn't end with Weinstein. This isn't the first time rumors of criminal investigations have circled her. She was also linked to João Teixeira de Faria, known as John of God, the Brazilian spiritual healer who gained international attention after Oprah featured him in 2010 and visited his center in 2012. Oprah praised him on air, saying people worldwide credited him and the spirits he worked with for miraculous healings. When allegations against John of God, including sexual abuse, emerged on December 11, 2018, he was later convicted and imprisoned. Critics argue that Oprah distanced herself quickly, issuing statements to separate her name from the scandal despite having introduced him to a global audience. And according to those same critics, that pattern of association and swift disavowal didn't end there. Researchers digging through documents turned up troubling threads tied to Oprah's Girls Academy in Johannesburg, which she opened in 2007. Within a year of the school's launch, 6 of the 152 students handpicked by Oprah accused dorm matron Virginia Tiny Mobo of sexual and physical abuse. Mobo faced 14 counts related to indecent acts. The controversy even spawned a defamation suit from the school's headmistress, Lorado Nomio Missam, against Oprah. People online have been asking, did all the girls from Oprah's school vanish? I had to look into it. The school, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls, has attracted accusations for years that students went missing, though none of those disappearance claims has been definitively proven. Still, the rumors keep resurfacing. Other alarming incidents have also been tied to the academy. In 2011, authorities discovered the body of a newborn in a backpack belonging to a student's father. Police confirmed the mother was a 17-year-old student. Reports say no charges were brought against her, a detail that raised more questions for critics and fueled further scrutiny of how the school handled serious allegations. Yet the industry often keeps powerful figures like Oprah insulated. Wealth and influence let careers keep rolling while whistleblowers face pushback. People who try to expose corruption, like Mel Gibson in this narrative, get ostracized for speaking out about what they see as the industry's darker side. Of course, Mel isn't presented here as spotless. He has his own, very public scandals. In July 2006, he was arrested for drunk driving in Malibu, and in 2010 leaked recordings captured him using racist language during an argument with his then-partner, Oksana Gregorova, the mother of one of his children. In those tapes, he rails against how she dresses and behaves in public, using crude, blaming language to shame her, a pattern that badly damaged his reputation and complicated any claims he makes about others. After those scandals, Mel's career never fully recovered. Many blamed racism and anti-Semitism for his fall, but some now suggest another reason. He wouldn't play along with Hollywood's darker ways or participate in mistreating others. One thing people credit him for is refusing to stay quiet. He's taken on powerful networks and called out alleged trafficking rings. Despite his outspoken Christianity, he's also criticized how some religious institutions protect abusers, arguing that the church, like any other powerful institution, can shelter wrongdoing when it values reputation over victims. That criticism isn't an attack on faith itself, he says, but on the institutions that cover up harm. And for him, one of the most urgent moral failures is how adults betray children's futures, whether through silence, protection of abusers, or systems that put power ahead of protection. Those leaked tapes revealed a side of him many fans had never anticipated, a conversational cadence that could be warm and witty in public, one that turned brittle and accusatory in private. In those private moments, he moved from critique into contempt, cataloging what he deemed flaws with a kind of moral certainty that left no room for complexity or for the humanity of the people he described. The immediate consequence was reputational. Late-night monologues and think pieces dissected his character in real time, but the deeper consequence was conceptual. The tapes exposed a recurring habit of explanation by blame, a rhetorical strategy that substitutes moral superiority for accountability. When a public figure relies on shaming as moral calculus, every subsequent claim they make, however righteous it might sound, is filtered through the residue of that strategy. It becomes harder to separate the valid from the vindictive, the whistleblowing from the self-justifying. The fall from favor was complicated and multi-causal. Some commentators and supporters immediately reached for familiar frameworks to make sense of his decline, focusing on race and religion. Those elements were real and not to be dismissed. In an industry and a society where identity often shapes how allegations are received, accusations can become shorthand for broader cultural battles. But reducing his decline to prejudice alone risks obscuring other dynamics at play. A growing number of observers now argue that his unwillingness to conform, to tacitly accept or participate in entrenched abuses and the quid pro quo culture that undergirded parts of the industry, played a central role. Where many figures have survived scandal by quietly aligning with powerful gatekeepers or by performing contrition in orchestrated, damage-limiting ways, he refused both complicity and calculated repentance. To some, that refusal looked like integrity. To others, especially to those who benefit from the system's continuity, it looked like trouble. People credit him, then, not simply for the fights he picked, but for the consistency of his posture. He refused to be a broken cog in a machine that requires certain moral compromises. That stance led him to name what others whispered: networks with porous moral boundaries, exploitative casting practices, and, at the more horrific end, trafficking rings that preyed on aspiration and vulnerability. Calling these things out was not merely sensational. It pushed a public conversation into darker corridors that had long been shrouded by euphemism and silence. He pointed to patterns: the normalization of power differentials, production hierarchies that reward aggression, managers who treat client silence as job training, that had permitted abuse to hide in plain sight. His Christianity surfaces in interviews and social commentary, not as a brand, but as a moral vocabulary. He speaks of sin and redemption, of stewardship and covenant, language that for some audiences lends conviction and for others raises immediate skepticism. But his critiques of religious institutions are often the most striking because they come from someone who is not anti-faith. Rather, they are rooted in a desire to reconcile religious ideals with institutional realities. He has repeatedly argued that churches and faith-based organizations are not immune to the corrupting influence of power. The same mechanisms that allow secular institutions to close ranks around abusers, reputation management, financial incentives, networks of influence, are at work in many religious bodies. When leaders prioritize the institution's brand over the well-being of survivors, the faith community's stated commitments to justice and compassion are hollowed out. He frames his critique in moral, not merely procedural, terms. For him, doctrine is not the problem, broken governance is. He has described situations in which victims were urged to forgive in private while perpetrators were quietly moved to other congregations, or where fundraising and donor relations took precedence over transparent investigations. That is why his message resonates differently than a broadside against religion would. It is an argument for accountability within structures that claim a higher moral authority. To call out a church that protects abusers is not to attack the faith of its members, he says. It is to insist that faith communities model a different ethic, one that privileges truth and healing over image management. Central to his moral argument is a fierce focus on children. In many of his public statements and private conversations, he returns to the image of a betrayed child, not as a rhetorical device, but as a moral compass. He describes the long, often invisible arc of harm that begins when adults conceal misconduct, the erosion of trust, the normalization of shame, and the ways in which young lives are rerouted by trauma that could have been prevented. He frames protection of children as both a practical obligation and a moral imperative. This is where his Christian language and his public activism converge most clearly. Whether in church halls or on news programs, he advocates for institutional reforms that make it harder to treat the young as collateral damage in the game of maintaining status. His emphasis on children also signals an understanding of abuse as systemic rather than exceptional. Individual predators exist, of course, and they must be held accountable. But systems enable predation when they value continuity over consequence. Auditions that encourage secrecy, mentorship models that place an adult's ambition over a young performer's safety, legal agreements that silence complainants. All of these are structural elements that, together, create an environment ripe for exploitation. By pointing to those structures, he shifts the conversation from moralizing about isolated villains to asking what organizational incentives allow abuse to flourish. The question then becomes, how do institutions, entertainment companies, religious organizations, schools, and even families alter their systems so that protection is built into the architecture rather than left to the discretion of goodwill? Critics argue that his own moral inconsistencies complicate his messaging. The same man who decries institutional silence has in private used language that shames and dehumanizes others. That contradiction is not unique in public life, but it matters. Moral clarity in public advocacy requires a level of personal discipline that, when absent, gives opponents ready ammunition. Advocates who fail to model the behavior they demand are vulnerable to charges of hypocrisy, and rightly so. He has had to confront this in public, acknowledging missteps while insisting that those failings do not negate the validity of the larger claims he makes about institutional malfeasance. Supporters and detractors alike agree on one point: his life is a study in messy complexity. He raises difficult truths about power and protection while embodying inconsistencies that make straightforward hero narratives impossible. That complexity, in fact, is instructive. It suggests that reform movements should be wary of purity tests and should instead focus on building mechanisms that survive the imperfections of any single leader. Movements anchored in robust policies, independent oversight, transparent reporting, survivor-centered investigations, and strict conflict of interest rules are less likely to be derailed when public champions fall short of their own rhetoric. Looking ahead, the conversations he pushed into the light have left an enduring imprint. Whether or not his career rebounds, the public discourse now more readily accepts that institutions, secular and sacred alike, can conceal harm and must be designed to resist that impulse. That shift matters for concrete policy outcomes: stronger whistleblower protections, clearer pathways for survivors to seek redress without fear of retaliation, and a recalibration of how industries balance reputation against accountability. For him, the moral fight always returned to one simple calculus: adults are the guardians of possibility, and when they substitute power preservation for protection, they steal futures. In the end, his legacy is neither unblemished nor easily dismissed. It is a reminder that speaking truth to power can be both necessary and imperfect, that institutional reform requires sustained effort beyond any single scandal, and that the true measure of a community is how it treats its most vulnerable members. By refusing to be silent about networks of harm, he helped pull a curtain back. By being forced to confront his own failings, he turned part of that light inward. The result is an argument as urgent as it is complicated. Institutions must answer for their failures, and adults must keep the welfare of children at the center of every decision, because anything less is a moral abnegation with generational consequences. Raising awareness is the first weapon against this kind of crime. See the film Sound of Freedom. Mel didn't stop at speaking out. He turned his fight into a movie. His 2023 film Sound of Freedom was meant to reach audiences years earlier, but the industry allegedly suppressed it. It was reportedly shelved after an initial planned release in 2018 and only reached theaters 5 years later. Around the film's release, an old 1998 interview with Mel resurfaced in which he described uneasy, paranoid feelings about Hollywood's inner circle. He avoided explicit detail back then, but many listeners read those comments as hints about secretive, exploitative behavior among powerful people in the industry. In that interview, he recalls arriving in Hollywood in his mid-20s and feeling unsettled by things he couldn't explain. With few people willing to talk openly, those early experiences left him suspicious and convinced that some truths were being deliberately hidden. Inevitably, Oprah answered the accusations, flatly denying them, calling the allegations lies and blaming figures like Mel for trying to destroy her. But for many people, denials weren't convincing. When a name keeps surfacing in scandal after scandal, suspicion hardens. Where there's smoke, there must be fire. "I'm not part of any cabal," she said, added that claims about conspiracies involving children made her sad, and insisted she wasn't personally hurt by the rumors anymore. Her response aimed to dismiss the accusations as baseless and politically motivated. Still, social media and comment threads lit up with people convinced justice will catch up to her. One commenter wrote, "She'll get hers. Crimes against children always come to light." Another insisted, "Oprah is not above the law." Many demanded that the truth be exposed.
So what do you think?
Does Mel Gibson exposing Oprah change how you see these allegations? Do you believe the FBI will investigate and bring charges where others allegedly failed? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more, click through to watch another video on the topic.